Jan and Clifton from FF Group, and we are here for the third session of our virtual summit dedicated to AI for vehicle recognition and road safety. We have also three guests here, Andy Schreyer from StoneSecurity, Vadim Kostylev from Hanwha Vision Europe, and Dave Baker from LiveView Technologies. So welcome. The topic is AI for parking management. When we say parking management, at least for us Europeans, it's the most developed and commercialized part of the ANPR-related business. It's widespread approach that parking lots are equipped with NPR cameras to manage vehicle access. Sometimes they are berries, sometimes not, but you have all the input data for parking payment management. We as FF Group, we see European market mainly to be ahead of others in the amount of deployments with, let's say, traditional parking lots with barriers, and we see the trend to go to barrierless solutions, this as they call frictionless. We see the same, let's say, also in New Zealand, and like it's different in the different regions. On the other side, we see US market. There is another trend, and these are rapid deployment ANPR or video surveillance camera using trailers with solar panels, with batteries, and using cloud platform. All of these solutions basically are today already based on, or they need edge recognition approach. Of course, there are new challenges, new opportunities coming up with the AI applications, and this is what we would like to discuss today. Again, we have Vadim Kostylev from Hanwha Vision Europe, who is overseeing range of products running on Hanwha Vision cameras, including many AI-based analytics. We have Dave Baker, Senior Solutions Architect from LiveView Technologies, a US-based company successfully deploying portable systems with own cloud-based backend. And we have Andy Schreyer, VP for Security Technology and Marketing of StoneSecurity, US-based, but globally operating integrator and solution provider with focus on video surveillance and access control. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Let's start with Vadim. What do you see as a state-of-the-art parking solution today?
So it definitely has been has moved forward the technology, especially being able to do analytics on the edge of the camera. So shifting away from the server-based solutions to edge-based. We started with being able to run ANPR on the edge, and now we're moving into more advanced analytics, also running on the edge, such as make model color recognition, and also other safety-related traffic analytics, such as wrong-way direction, the speed violation. So from edge and analytics point of view, things have definitely improved massively.
Andy, if you look more from the, let's say, integrator side and you consider all the hardware involved and so on, well, like, has it changed somehow when you look to the previous years and you look today how you deploy a parking system? Is it something which is still must-have component? Is it something which is now obsolete, which is not needed anymore?
No, I actually think it continues to get better, and I appreciate what Vadim said. I mean, a state-of-the-art parking system should continue to implement technologies that allow end users or whoever's visiting the parking facility to have a frictionless, automated, and an intelligent, I mean, people every day now have things on their mobile devices and they want touchless access. A lot of technology lately has been developed to enhance their experience in a parking is their first first visit to wherever they're going. The parking is the first impression of how they see that shopping experience or that business experience. So intelligent parking is actually really important for any of the clients that we work with that want to give their patrons a great experience. So I think it's only getting more technologically advanced. It is more difficult initially to set up because mobile and touchless for the user definitely isn't easier for the integrator. That's for sure.
Thanks, Dave. You, as an end user, coming to the parking, driving to a parking lot, what do you enjoy? What do you like, or what do you appreciate when you come to a parking lot?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. You passed that one to Dave. Go for it, Baker.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So the question is what am I looking for when I come into a parking lot?
Exactly.
I think the first thing is regardless of where you're going to assess risk, right? And even if this is on the subconscious level. So the first thing I notice about a parking lot is it clean? Does it look safe for me and my family to get out of the vehicle? And again, that could be on the subconscious level, but a lot of times you want to make sure you're going to a safe environment. And we deal with psychology of bad actors and good actors all the time because there is a psychological component to a mobile surveillance unit being deployed. But the very first thing that I'm looking for is cleanliness, because if it's dirty, if there's trash, if things like that, that's going to start tipping my risk assessment there. So that's probably the very first thing that I'm looking for. And then I just based on my background, I'm looking for cameras, what the cameras are looking at, what they're doing, what models they are. If it's a good placement by the integrator, if it's a good install by the integrator, but I think that's probably not the norm thing to be thinking about when you enter a parking lot.
It is the norm on this call. Every single one of us are looking at the cameras.
Definitely. Look, even my kids are looking for them. They are like pointing. Look at PTZ. Yeah. What for brand is it?
I'll give you a follow-up example, Jan, because what Baker said is important. We were working with a client, a big retail outfit, and they have voice of the customer type program where they listen to whoever their patrons are going to be. And they had one person, because of a trailer with cameras in a parking lot, the person responded to the voice of the customer request and said, I actually will be attending or will be patroning that particular establishment, that particular retail outfit, because I see that they have better security out in the parking lots. It was a critical juncture for them to now be repeating their business.
Mm-hmm. Good example.
So I've got a question. You know, in the US, are we seeing, parking lots generally, with barriers, or are we starting to see some form of barrierless type parking lot environments where, you want to be able to manage it, but you want, some form of free flow for your customers? And, I'm adding on to that because when we think of a parking lot, sometimes we're thinking about paid parking lots that people are going in and out of. But in general, in the US, it could be anything. And specifically in the trailer side of things, it could be just a special event. So, what are you seeing, from barriers versus barrierless type parking environments in the US? I would say specifically for you guys. I don't know, anyone can answer, but I think all three. I think Dave, you can go first, and then
Yeah. So I think we're seeing a mix, right? It really depends on the application. One thing that we do see is based on crime levels, we'll see entry points that were free flowing before be shut down to try to funnel traffic. And then we're also seeing instances where we want to cut off access in different areas. So we're seeing demand for portable access control solutions to put in certain areas to deny access. But then we're also seeing a lot of requests to have footage at entry points with gates and possible LPR solutions. So it's a mix. I don't know if there's much of a trend other than this new thing that's popped up where we need portable options, not only for video, but for access control solutions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can add to that. It also tends to vary because of the application. If the end user is wanting to charge for, parking, they will definitely have barriers, and they have a much more sophisticated barrier system than if it's a company that just wants to make sure that whoever is entering their parking lot is simply employees. So usually they just have signage and they have passes in the vehicles. That's mostly West Coast way of thinking. East Coast is quite a bit more progressive with parking management. That's for sure, because they have high rises and they have quite a bit less available parking. So they have to be more controlling. But there is a difference if the customer wants to charge for parking versus if they're just trying to control parking for their own, to keep their own people there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Vadim, from your point of view, we are more in Central Europe. We see this, let's say, definitely a trend to go to open parkings. But you are based in UK. What about UK?
Yeah, I think it's mixed at the moment. So typically from open air car parks, they tend to be so barrierless without barrier, and then multi-story car parks, they tend to be more secure, and barrier is offering, I guess, additional element of security, but also a traffic control measure. Because usually entrance and exits are quite narrow and controlled, and they're open space car parks. I think there's also usually a cost element that's affecting the decisions, where it's maybe sufficient enough just to put the ANPR in place and let the cars to freely come in and come out. But at the same time, it also poses maybe a security risk in some cases, because you could say that anyone can drive into the car park and potentially cause some damage or theft. So yeah, it's split at the moment.
Okay, Andy, if you look at you have basically quite a big experience with all the, let's say, edge-based, server-based, and cloud-based deployed solutions. And if we speak about vehicle access control or parking management, basically based on ANPR, do you see some trends or, let's say, advantages? Like, we are very much biased. We do edge-based, but is it really? Can we see it as a trend, moving all the recognition to the edge, or do you see it differently, or do you see also some benefits of cloud or server-based?
I mean, most of the clients that we currently work with that are using ALPR, they have large enterprise VMS systems and large enterprise access control systems, and they're using this solution as ancillary. But I do think, and in fact, it has been difficult in the last 5 years. It's probably improved a great deal, but cloud and mobile-based applications are taking off in the US. And I think cloud really does lend us the direction we would all want to go is edge-based computing, because then with cloud management, we're not having to do all of the processing in the cloud. We're doing it on the edge, and it makes cloud management so much lighter and easier.
Mm-hmm. Dave, from when you look at your experience and your customers, do you see the same trend, or your architecture requires also the same, or how is it? Because you have both cloud and you also have edge devices. So how you work with that?
So I kind of agree with Andy, where it's more of a tiered approach, where edge allows you to take advantage of existing infrastructure, reduce friction to deployment. I remember being a young rep in the industry traveling to a remote town in Southeast Idaho, which is a very forward-looking part of the country, believe it or not. And they wanted to run LPR on every entrance into the city. But we ended up not being able to do it because of the server requirement on the back end. So that taught me quite a bit about friction in terms of your camera may be able to do it, but the processing power to do LPR at those distances and those speeds at that time really negated their ability to do it. But now we're getting to the point where SOCs on cameras are powerful enough, not only to read from an OCR perspective, but to give attributes of the vehicle to allow faster searching. And that's where this tiered approach comes in. We can do that at the edge, but then at the cloud, we can port into an LLM and do really fast searching based on what the camera is seeing. So have that proactivity at the edge, but then also have the forensic and the reduced time to evidence on the back end to search quickly through video. I think that tiered approach fits really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
Vadim, I hope you like what you are hearing.
Yeah, it's definitely in line with the market trends and what we are seeing as well. We stopped selling server-based solutions probably around 5 years ago. And it's also offers ability to do the analytics on the edge and only send the metadata out from the camera into the cloud platform. So you are reducing cost of the server infrastructure. Your connectivity also can be potentially mobile because you are just pushing metadata, not full stream. And of course, with our solutions, we can also push the video stream to a local, for example, video management system, VMS, to do a local recording. And at the same time, our product can perform ANPR and other analytics on the edge and send that metadata into the cloud. So,
guys, are there? I mean, we are most of the vehicle access control cases, parking management cases. It's about this entry-exit scenario with barriers, without barriers, whatever. But are there any new use cases for parking rising now, or requested more, demanded more on the market? Is there something new you see you can combine with this approach, or it's maybe different? Is there anything new?
I've seen a few things that are different. There's a couple of city municipalities that have areas of parking. They're wondering, analytics are kind of helping. They're wondering how often cars stay in parking spots on the city infrastructure and which cars return daily. And they're not sure what they're going to do with the data, but they are curious and they are asking for it. So we'll see if they find trends, or some of the parking analytics that we think might be useful eventually will have marketing impacts and have, if we have many more people during certain hours, this is when we're going to sell marketing data to people who want billboards in parking garages, or that's an easy target for marketers because you have to pass this way. You have to look at this wall when you're turning. So, and if somebody goes from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., that's when 90% of the patronage happens. That would be the high dollar marketing value.
Mm-hmm. Dave, do you have also other requests from your customers?
Yeah. So I would say there's two things that I'm really noticing in regards to LPR solutions in general. I think the first is this diversification of multi-sensor cameras. Whereas you would have a multi-sensor camera and typically every optic in that camera would be the exact same. So now you're having a need where we need to be tight in an area, but we also need an overview shot to gather attributes of the vehicle, right? Or gather other things around the entry point. And so there's a diversification of optics in that multi-sensor setup. Or you may need to do thermal in one end, and then a day-night image that can be zoomed in with the optic, right? But then also this concept of the top friction point for any LPR camera from an install perspective is not just hanging it, but it's also aiming it. But you may have a dynamic scene that needs to change, right? So having the ability to remotely position, remotely fine-tune zooms, or optics, I think the diversification of the sensors and then also the ability to remotely position is something that we're seeing quite a bit in those types of requests. But then also this idea of composability of your security system. We can't just create another video silo. We need to be able to interact with other parts of the security ecosystem, whatever system it is. And so whatever software component comes into play in your ecosystem, it needs to talk to the rest of it. It needs to be composable throughout your entire system. So there's a lot of manufacturers in the space right now that are just really breaking down video silos. That's a big trend, to consolidate video information to be searchable in one platform. And so I think those are the two top trends that I see.
Vadim, anything else?
Yeah, there's definitely what we're seeing rise in now EV charging stations in car parks. And there is always that risk of potentially fire safety issues, battery packs overheating or the charger overheating. So use of thermal technology is not something that's been in demand now, to mainly focus on the EV charging stations and make sure and being able to detect any abnormal changes in the temperature of the charger or the vehicle. So thermal technology is definitely now entering the parking vertical from safety point of view. There's also, I agree with Dave on the point around multi-sensors. So the multi-sensors are now reducing in size. Conventionally, they used to be quite large form factor products because you are fitting in essentially, usually about 4 cameras into one unit. And that's now been streamlined into a lot more compact form factors. And that allows to installation in the car parks, which we know often have low ceilings. That's for multi-story car parks. And it gives you potentially four images in one device, one cable. So there is also saving on the cabling and network infrastructure. And I would probably say also sound analytics. And that's something that's coming into play as well. Being able to detect glass breaking, so that could be vehicle theft, detect shouting, screaming, so that could be a security risk as well. So there is there's some exciting technologies that are emerging.
I like to hear about multi-sensors. Definitely very popular cameras, and we have also a lot of requests as a an ANPR manufacturer for this parking lot monitoring using ANPR. So like using this modular camera pointed to, let's say, 4 sensors, each is covering 2-3 bays or parking spots, and you basically are able to monitor each of the spots separately. The same I have heard, we are not doing that, but I have heard a lot of requests to do it from the PTZ as a like overview image, monitoring the parking lot from above, from some like higher space. So this is definitely something I see, and connected with that, requests for tracking the vehicle on some parking lot. Yeah, but thanks for your cases. Yeah,
I have a question. And I suppose it's it's not sort of directing it down here, but from a parking perspective, are we seeing do clients just want license plates and understanding those vehicles coming in, or they're also trying to understand more vehicle attributes of the vehicles coming in? Obviously we can speak about make, model, color, etc. Which so first, I suppose the 2-part question: is there an adoption for make, model, and color? Is that information becoming useful? And then I would say the second one is, what are the other attributes that I would say would you think are going to be important for parking management companies or any sort of retail complex or et cetera, et cetera? Andy, if you want to go first.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Really, when it comes to ALPR and video surveillance, anything that you can put in as metadata and search using that as a search token. Color is always a fantastic token for search. Size of vehicle, if they're capable of, and many of these camera systems are now differentiating between larger trucks and regular cars and bicycles, etc. So any of that metadata you can use as searchable, as well as you can tag it and have all kinds of sorting and figuring with metadata tags. And there's, I think, color, our clients, depending on what the use case is, if it's for security, that type of thing is helpful. If it's for allowing trucks, the specific trucks that are delivering in a customer environment where they know their trucks look like A, B, and C. They have that distinct characteristic. It's helpful because not every ALPR system is perfect yet. They're getting very good, but they may miss a letter on a license plate, and potentially you're enhancing your ability to process that business intelligence case without every bit of metadata on only a license plate. For example, if brown trucks for UPS, if they know that those are safe to go through an area, they could allow that instead of just basing it on license plates.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very valid point. Dan?
So the way I like to think about this is it's all about reducing your time to evidence. And so anything that a camera can proactively serve up that would allow it to uniquely identify a vehicle coming in, that could be, a top rack or like Andy said, a bike rack, something along those lines. Anything in addition to color, make, model allows faster search times, right? And that's where cloud can help supplement edge. But then also what's happening is this idea of contextual AI, taking in multiple data points and then making a determination based on what time of day, how fast the vehicle's going, different things like that, what the vehicle attributes are, and then combining that and having insights into your environment based on contextual AI is huge. And that's something that, we used to joke around back in the day of it being like a CSI or MacGyver type thing, but that's starting to become a reality. The more and more that cameras can proactively call out different metadata and serve that up. But it's all comes down to reducing our time to evidence.
Well, and even with contextual AI, there's a few more points to make. Is now you're seeing autonomous vehicles. We're going to need to be able to help these autonomous vehicles communicate to parking so that your full autonomy, your integration with parking decks that are designed for those autonomous vehicle drop-offs for self-parking and retrieval, so that no human navigation even needs to be a part of this conversation. And these cloud platforms can control, municipal lots and private lots that way with where people want technology. There's so much that can be done with these types of integrations. I mean, you have mixed use smart infrastructure now that are doing micro distribution centers for deliveries. I mean, you have EV charging hubs, and you need to know, if I'm put my car on a charging hub, how long is it going to take me to be finished with that? Do I need to go grab a sandwich or something? All of this is just people experience, user experience is really, marketing gets a lot more money than security. We all know that. So security is able to take advantage of some of this money, but if we can help bridge the gap and allow user experience to also drive this type of tech that we're talking about today, I think there's some cool stuff we could put together.
Perfect. Good, guys. We are at the end. We have to switch to another session. Many thanks for joining us. Many thanks for your thoughts, your ideas, and for your conversation.